Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about letting go and how that can actually be a way to help you clear out extra stress and anxiety. Moving forward means letting go of the past. I like to think about it as like when we are little kids and we're on those monkey bars and we're trying to move forward on them. And we have one hand on one rung and one hand on the next one, and we want to go forward. What we need to do is let go of that first hand, that one that's in the back. We have to let go of the past to move forward. Now, we can be grateful for what we've learned and what we've gained from the past. Our past is part of us. However, staying in it and being overly concerned with it and wishing it to change or being resentful of it for many years will stunt our personal growth, and it will keep us stressed, and the stress will continue to fuel our anxiety, and we will not be able to access our deepest peace and calm. There are many things that we can move on from. In order to best glide forward or to reach for that next rung on the monkey bars and reach new heights of happiness and success, there are probably a lot of things that we need to consider that we need to move on from. Are there people to forgive? Are there fears to move on from? And negative people to let go of? You can even let go of yourself and forgive yourself. You may be clenched down and really tight and hard on yourself. Set yourself free from all of these things. And first off, let go of resentments, right? Resentment is one of the heaviest things that we can carry around. It limits our genuine freedom. We can be experiencing many things in our life, such as people who have been unjust or hurtful to us. You never have to be okay with what anyone has done. When someone has done something to hurt you or someone that you love, you're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to have the full human emotion around that. But the fact is that what happened, happened. It already happened. That is the first step to forgiveness. Practicing radical acceptance. What happened, happened. Now, I have talked about acceptance here many times, and there is a podcast episode number 611 on radical acceptance. If you would like to go back and review that, that can be very helpful in spending more time with what happened, happened. That is our first step to forgiveness and letting go of the past. Begin by acknowledging that the reality is indeed real. Acknowledging it mindfully without judgment. That's where we get into trouble, is when we are judging it and putting more onto it than we need to. All we need to do is acknowledge that what happened, happened. What you need to say is, yes, it happened. This is acceptance. Yes, this happened. It actually makes us more whole to acknowledge something that happened, even if it was terrible, even if it was something awful that we are not wanting to even have ever had in our lives. The idea of accepting it makes us whole again. because we are not denying something in our life. Acceptance does not mean that you're okay with what happened. Acceptance will enable you to move forward from any past resentments and make you whole again by being willing to acknowledge that it did happen. Once you've come to acceptance, you can begin the process of forgiveness. Despite how you may feel, forgiveness does not require the person you are upset with to do anything, or the person who was involved with your ill feeling, and that you need to forgive this person about. They don't need to do anything. They don't even need to be alive. Forgiveness is all about you. As with all things, forgiving becomes easier with practice. So, as usual, I'm going to ask you to get out your journal and actually write down your resentments in a list. Begin with the people who are easiest to forgive and work from there. When a person comes up in your mind who you want to forgive, you can take a deep breath and you can actually say, I forgive you, or you can write, I forgive you. There's a practice here in Hawaii called Ho'oponopono, which is about forgiveness. And it is a beautiful practice. And forgiving, by writing it down, I forgive you, or I forgive myself, wherever it needs to go, start with this in your journal, with the easiest people first. And while you're doing this, release the tension in your body and allow yourself to actually relax and feel the resentment leaving. You'll need to do this process for some people or events multiple times. You can add these people to your Metta practice if you would like to, your loving kindness practice. That would be very helpful. And if you want more on that, you can listen to episode 574. That's on loving kindness, which is the Metta practice. It would be good to add these difficult people to your Metta practice. Forgiveness is powerfully beneficial and will make your life more joyful and rewarding. This is also a great opportunity to learn more about yourself. Use your feelings of resentment and your process of forgiveness to get to know yourself better. And how can this inform your values? Where do you want to go from here? This will really help you, really getting deep into yourself and understanding yourself better. Now, I'm just realizing I mentioned 2 different episodes so far, and just in case, I think I might mention another one still coming up. All of those will be linked in the show notes for your convenience. But now let's talk about letting go of fear. Boy, fear. Most of our fears are imaginary. The fears are in our thought process, in our minds. They are stories that we tell ourselves about who we are and what's going to happen. Things that we are afraid of. It is about the future. When you feel fearful of the future, you keep yourself from achieving your fullest truth. You have learned fear, and it's okay, because at some point, fear actually served you. It was important for you to be fearful. And you did it, and it stuck. Sometimes it sticks. And of course, there are also rational fears that we have because we should be afraid, but often those don't stick. As you will notice, a whizzing car coming by when you're stepping off the curb, you don't even need to think about it. You just jumped up. You didn't have to learn to let go of that. You let go of it. You jumped up on the curb, you kind of shake it off and you go on. But these imaginary fears, they tend to ruminate and go round and round in our heads. And we are often fearful of the future, and it's keeping us held back. Again, at some point, those fears served you. The fears to let go of are the ones that you think of when you think of what fears are holding you back from being truly you. Think about it. Many people come to me with their fears, and they are sure that they're being held back. That's why they're seeking help. They are looking for the ways to learn that they do not need to hold on to these anymore. And we need to learn to let go of these. It's natural to let go of them. When you imagine your fullest self, what fears have you shed? Like, who would you be if you weren't afraid? What fears are long forgotten? You may have had fears in the past that you no longer carry around with you. It might be helpful to visualize yourself feeling this freedom that you have from those fears you had in the past. These feelings will motivate you to make your fullest life a reality. When you find yourself feeling fearful, observe the name of that fear. Use your rational mind to understand what fears are coming from your ego. What is it you're protecting, right? Observe the moments when you feel fearful, and then watch what you do in response to that fear. Begin working on remaining open during these times of fear. Instead of clenching down and closing off and going back into your shell, your protection, see what it's like to remain open even as you face the fear. You have a lot of courage within you. When you feel fear creeping up, name it, face it, right? Name it, sit with it, and then let it go. Being mindful in these moments is essential. You want to bring yourself to the present moment, because in the present moment, you are safe. You are fine. Or you wouldn't be practicing on doing this work, right? You would be getting safe. But bring yourself to the present moment, and this present moment that you are safe in. Breathe in your courage. Breathe in courage and exhale the fear. And use that kind of imagery if that helps you. Imagine the fear leaving your body and leaving you only with the greater courage that you were breathing in. Some things that we need to let go of are negative people. You know, sometimes relationships are not serving us well. You can ask yourself that. Are the relationships in my life serving me well? It's easy to get lost in a destructive relationship. Sometimes it's easier to stay friends with someone or stay in relationship with someone than it would be to stop being friends with them or to liquidate the relationship. Remember, there are many people around you who relate to you and appreciate you. And the only way to find them is by loving yourself fully and putting yourself into the world around you. The way you let people treat you says a lot about how you treat yourself. If you begin being kinder to yourself, you may find that you're better able to ask for what you need from those around you. And this, again, is a place we don't want to be adding judgment. Please be careful of that. No judging required here. Just learn that you can be kinder to yourself, and then you can be even better prepared to ask for what you need from the people around you. When you can ask for what you need from others, you're showing yourself respect and love. When you demand respect from others by demonstrating it to yourself, you will find your relationships beginning to improve. This is a lifelong process, so begin where you are and just keep adding to it as you go along. You will know that a relationship is no longer serving you when you leave interactions with that person feeling worse than you did when you arrived. If this happens regularly, or you see a pattern of inconsistent behavior, or even if it's simply a difference in values, you might want to consider letting go of that relationship or changing it. It can be intimidating to cut ties with a friend. However, it's a necessary part of growth. Sometimes you only need to be in someone's life for a short time so that you can both learn what you need to learn. You don't need to be friends with all your friends forever. Actually, we have seasons where some people are in our lives for many seasons and some people not so much. One way to create structure around the kind of people you want to allow in your life is by setting boundaries. And if you want an entire podcast episode on boundaries, you can listen to episode 523. That one is about boundaries. If you have a toxic friendship in your life, you can put boundaries in place to help keep your needs clear. For example, if you have a friend who is frequently intoxicated when you're together and that upsets you, you can set a boundary that you will not spend time with that friend when they are intoxicated. This boundary is clear and not up for interpretation. Setting boundaries like these can help keep your toxic relationships at bay, and new positive relationships will come forward as there is more space in your life. So quickly, how to set boundaries. I know I gave you an entire episode you could listen to, but here are some more tips on that technique, because that, the boundaries help us let go of things we don't want in our life anymore that are causing us stress and fueling our anxiety. So the first one is that you can get quiet and think about your needs. Again, get your journal out and write about what you need in your life and what people are no longer helping you to attain your greatest good. Let yourself write without judgment and see what feelings or needs bubble up to the surface. Another tip is to establish your limits. Know where the line is for you and how much you are willing to tolerate. Another one, know what you need. In times of stress or frustration with a person, what are the things that you need in those moments based on how you feel? Do you need to leave? Do you need to end the interaction? Feel deeply into what it is that you need. Another tip is to communicate your boundaries clearly. Boundaries are great guideposts because they are sturdy and you can simply repeat the boundary in a response to a reaction that you get back. You can just tell the person your boundary again. It's clear, it's sturdy, and it gives you some strength and actually more courage because you already know what you're going to give back to the person who is not respecting your boundary. You just simply repeat it again. Another idea is to be consistent in following through on your boundaries. This is important, and I know it is difficult to do. We are all working on these things. This is not magic that just because we know it, that we are able to do it every time. Pay attention to how you feel when you do or don't follow through on your boundaries. If it's difficult for you to take a stand, keep practicing and see what happens. And finally, give yourself the okay to let go of or set boundaries with these people that are causing harm or limiting you. It's okay. And you're just learning, and you're learning something new. So you can be either setting a boundary or resetting a boundary. Allow yourself to let go. Allow yourself to open and feel the spaciousness when you are no longer clenched down. Give yourself permission to do all of the healing and letting go that you need to do. In order to most powerfully grow and go forward, you must commit to trusting the process fully. You can give yourself permission to let go of your past. You can let go of your regret, your anger, your fears. You can let go of the people that are hindering you or holding you back or don't believe in who your best self is. When you're letting go of people, you can take that time to participate in new things in your community and in your world in ways that will help you get closer to people who are perhaps better suited for this season in your life. I hope this has been helpful, and if you have thoughts you want to send about what you would like to hear on the show, you can send email to anxietycoachespodcast@gmail.com. And now for today's quote. Let go of certainty. The opposite isn't uncertainty. It's openness, curiosity, and a willingness to embrace paradox rather than choose up sides. The ultimate challenge is to accept ourselves exactly as we are, but never stop trying to learn and grow. And that's from Tony Schwartz. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.